A billionaire CEO's careless joke unexpectedly awakens a forgotten ballerina's hidden past, proving that sometimes true greatness hides in the most unexpected places. Jordan Whitmore was not an ordinary man. Just 33 years old, he was already a billionaire. His company, Whitmore Lifestyle Group, had its name on fashion shows in Paris, art exhibits in New York, and charity events in London. People knew him for his charm, his style, and his confidence. But even more than that, they knew him for being sharp-tongued and brutally honest. He had the kind of energy that filled a room before he even entered. Wherever he went, people noticed. 1. Winter evening, Jordan arrived at his company's headquarters in Chicago for a late-night boardroom meeting. It was cold outside, and most employees had already gone home. Only a few top executives and assistants stayed behind. They were discussing the launch of a new luxury brand campaign. The boardroom was large, with shining glass windows and bright lights. The table was made of polished wood, and the air smelled like expensive cologne and freshly printed documents. Jordan stood at the head of the table, speaking quickly and confidently. Everyone listened. No one dared interrupt. But then, during a short break, Jordan walked out of the boardroom and into the hallway to stretch his legs. That's when he saw her. She was a small, older woman in a plain gray uniform.
Neck was
Slightly bent, and her hair was mostly gray, tied in a loose bun. She wore simple shoes and thick socks. She was slowly mopping the marble floor near the elevators. She didn't make any sound, didn't look up, and didn't seem to notice anyone around her. Her name tag read Rosa. Jordan had seen her before, maybe once or twice in passing, but he had never spoken to her. In fact, like many others in the building, he had never really paid attention to the cleaning staff. They were just part of the background, like the furniture or the walls. But tonight, something about her seemed different. Rosa moved slowly, but her steps were strangely smooth. Her back might have been bent, but her arms moved in a calm, almost graceful rhythm. There was a quiet dignity in the way she held herself, like someone who knew how to be patient, steady, and unnoticed. Jordan, curious, but still in his usual playful mood, walked closer and said loudly, "Hey, Rosa," about a dance move to lighten the mood. He grinned. Some of the nearby assistants laughed nervously. Rosa paused, looked up at him with tired but kind eyes, and gave a soft chuckle. She didn't seem offended. She didn't even seem surprised. She just smiled gently and said, "I'm too old for that, sir." And she looked down again and continued mopping. Jordan raised his eyebrows, gave a small shrug, and walked back to the meeting. To him, it was just a joke, one of those harmless things people say to break the tension. But something about Rosa's calm smile stayed in his mind longer than he expected. The meeting went on for another hour. The team discussed budgets, marketing, ideas, celebrity endorsements, and charity partnerships. Jordan was sharp, focused, and in control. But every now and then, his mind drifted back to Rosa. He couldn't explain why. There was nothing special about her, at least, nothing obvious. But the way she moved. There was something odd, almost elegant about it. After the meeting ended, Jordan stayed behind for a few minutes, looking out the large glass windows. The city lights sparkled below. As he turned to leave, he passed by the hallway again. Rosa was still there, this time wiping down the stair railing. He paused for a second, watching her from a distance. She didn't see him. She just kept working, quiet and alone. Over the next few days, Jordan noticed Rosa more often. It wasn't that she was doing anything different. It was just that he was now paying attention. She always moved slowly, quietly, and with that same unusual grace. She never complained, never looked tired, and never spoke unless spoken to. She seemed to exist in her own world, away from the noise and the rush of the busy office. One afternoon, Jordan mentioned Rosa during a casual conversation with his assistant, that cleaning lady Rosa. "How long has she worked here?" The assistant looked surprised. "Rosa? Oh, she's been here for over 10 years, I think. Maybe longer. Nobody really talks to her much.
ow.
She just comes in during late hours and does her job." Jordan nodded slowly. He didn't say anything else, but his curiosity grew. He wasn't used to mysteries. He was the kind of man who knew everything about everyone in his building. But Rosa was different. She had no social media, no photos online, no stories. It was as if she had chosen to disappear into a quiet life. One evening, an intern named Mia was staying late to finish a project. She was young, curious, and friendly. While refilling her water bottle in the hallway, she saw Rosa humming softly while sweeping. Something about the tune caught Mia's attention. It was an old ballet melody, Swan Lake, she thought. Rosa didn't notice her watching. She was lost in the music, swaying slightly as she swept. Her hands moved with delicate precision, and her steps had a rhythm that didn't match her age. Mia stared, surprised. It was like watching someone dance slowly while cleaning. Later, Mia couldn't stop thinking about it. She Googled the name Rosa Ballet in Italy, just for fun. After some deep searching, she found something surprising. A black and white photo in an old ballet magazine archive. It showed a young woman performing on stage in a stunning pose. The name below the photo said Rosalinda Moretta Prima Ballerina. Teatro alla Scala, Milan. The photo was from 1973. Mia gasped. The woman in the photo had the same eyes, same face, same quiet smile as Rosa. The next day, Mia approached Rosa gently and asked, "Rosa, have you ever danced before? Like, ballet?" Rosa looked surprised for a moment, but then smiled. "Long ago," she said softly. "In another life." She didn't say anything more, but now Mia was convinced. Rosa wasn't just a cleaning lady. She had a story, an incredible one. The whispers began to spread through the office. Quiet at first, then louder. People started wondering, was Rosa really that ballet star from decades ago? What happened to her? Why was she here, working as a cleaner? Jordan heard the whispers too. At first, he thought it was just office gossip. But one night, when he saw Rosa alone in the hallway again, he stayed hidden and watched. She was cleaning, like always. But then, as if lost in thought, she closed her eyes, held out her arms, and began to move. It wasn't just cleaning. It was ballet. Even without music, even without a stage, Rosa's movements were graceful, precise, and breathtaking. Her hands curved like flower petals, her feet glided softly, and her face looked peaceful like someone remembering who they truly were. Jordan stood frozen, watching in silence. His mind raced. The joke he made earlier now felt different. He had laughed without knowing who she really was. She wasn't just a cleaning lady. She was something far more. He didn't speak to her that night. He just watched quietly and walked away. But from that night on, Jordan looked at Rosa not as a shadow in the hallway, but as a mystery waiting to be understood. He knew there was more to her story. And for the first time in a long while, he wanted to know someone not for their wealth, their fame, or their power, but for their silence, their strength, and their past. And so, without realizing it, a new story was beginning, not just for Rosa, but for everyone who thought they already knew who mattered and who did. Because sometimes, the most extraordinary people are the ones we walk past every day without ever noticing. After that quiet moment when Jordan saw Rosa dancing alone, something inside him had changed. He didn't talk about it to anyone, but he kept thinking about her, about how gracefully she moved, how calm she looked, how her eyes carried something deep, something that spoke of a forgotten world. He had made a joke thinking she was just an old cleaning lady. Now he realized she was far more than that. Meanwhile, Mia, the young intern who had found Rosa humming ballet music, couldn't stop thinking about the discovery she had made. The black and white photo of Rosalinda Moretti, famous Italian ballerina, looked so much like Rosa that it gave Mia goosebumps. How could this woman, this world-class dancer, end up quietly mopping floors in a corporate office? One evening, Mia brought a printed copy of the photo to work. She waited until Rosa was on a break, sipping tea alone in the janitor's lounge. Mia sat down beside her and gently slid the photo across the table. "I found this," Mia said softly. "Is this you?" Rosa looked at the picture for a long moment. Her face didn't change much, but her eyes became moist. She smiled quietly and nodded. "That was me," she said in a low voice. "Many, many years ago." Mia was stunned. "Why didn't you ever tell anyone? You were a star. You danced in Milan." Rosa looked out the small window, watching snow fall outside. "Life doesn't always stay on the stage," she said. "Sometimes it takes you somewhere unexpected." Mia didn't push her for more details. She could see that Rosa wasn't the kind of person who liked to talk about herself. But still, she wanted to know. How did a woman who once danced in the most famous theaters of Europe end up cleaning offices in Chicago? The next few days, Mia watched Rosa more closely. She noticed little things, how Rosa's steps had rhythm, how her hands moved like they were following music even when wiping a desk. She moved with the control of someone who had trained for years. Someone whose body had once told stories on grand stages. Other employees started noticing too. Someone saw Rosa stretch her arms while reaching for a high shelf and mentioned how graceful she looked. Someone else caught her doing a perfect spin while turning with a vacuum cord. Slowly, quiet conversations started happening in different corners of the office. "Did you know Rosa used to be a famous dancer?" I heard. "She performed in Paris too." "No way, that can't be true." "She's just a cleaner. Look at the way she moves." "I believe it." One afternoon, Jordan asked Mia to come into his office. He had heard the rumors too. "Tell me what you know about Rosa," he said. Mia told him everything. The photo, the name Rosalinda Moretti. The old magazine article she found. Rosa's quiet confirmation. Jordan listened carefully, his fingers tapping lightly on his desk. He looked thoughtful, even a little guilty. "I made a joke once," he said. "Told her to dance for fun. I had no idea." Mia nodded. She didn't seem angry. She just smiled. "But special, Mr. Whitmore. Really special." Wood leaned back in his chair. "Why would someone like her end up here, cleaning carpets and mopping floors?" Mia shrugged. "Maybe that's what she chose. Or maybe life didn't give her a choice." Jordan nodded slowly. That night, he stayed late at the office. Didn't have any meetings. He just wanted to see Rosa again. He walked the quiet halls until he saw her, wiping down a glass door with her usual grace. He watched for a moment and then spoke. "Rosa." She turned to him, polite as always. "Yes, sir?" "I owe you an apology," Jordan said. "About that dance comment, I didn't know." Rosa gave him a warm smile. "It's all right. Most people don't." "Is it true?" he asked. "Were you really Rosalinda Moretti?" Rosa looked down at the cloth in her hands. Then she nodded. "That was my name, a long time ago." "Why didn't you tell anyone?" Rosa sighed and sat down on a nearby bench. Jordan surprisingly joined her. "I was born in a small town in Italy," Rosa began. "Dancing was the only thing I ever loved. I trained day and night. I gave everything to Ballet, my time, my youth, my body. By the time I was 21, I was traveling the world." She paused and smiled at the memory. "I danced in Paris, London, Vienna, New York. I danced until my feet bled. I danced until people cried. But ballet is a jealous art. Takes everything from you." Jordan listened quietly, not interrupting once. "One night I fell during rehearsal. I tore a ligament in my leg. It was bad. Tried to come back, but my body never moved the same again. The pain was constant. The grace. It was gone." She looked away, her voice softer now. "I was only 30. My career was over." Jordan stared at her, stunned. "And then what?" "I moved here," she said. "My sister lived in Chicago. I wanted a quiet life. No lights, no noise, no attention. I took whatever job I could find. Cleaning gave me peace. I kept my hands moving and my mind still." "You could have taught," Jordan said. "Open to school." "I thought about it," Rosa replied, "but I wasn't ready. Wanted to disappear, and I did." They sat in silence for a while. Then Jordan asked, "Do you miss it, Rosa?" Smiled a bit sadly every day. "But I also learned something. You don't stop being a dancer just because people stop watching. If the dance lives in you, it never leaves." Jordan looked at her with new respect. He had built empires. Had built beauty, and both of them had faced something painful, the moment when everything you love is suddenly taken from you. Over the next few weeks, Rosa's quiet secret became an open truth within the office, but no one treated her differently. In fact, people became kinder, more respectful. They stopped rushing past her. They started saying hello. Some even asked her for stories or advice. Mia asked her once, "Do you ever dance anymore?" Rosa smiled and said, "Only when no one is watching." But the truth was, someone always noticed. The way she wiped down windows like painting on air. The way she moved between chairs as if on a stage. The way she held her mop like a partner in an old ballet. Jordan couldn't forget her words. If the dance lives in you, it never leaves. He started thinking about how many people in the world were like Rosa, people with great talents, powerful pasts, and quiet stories, hidden in plain sight. He began seeing his company differently too. It was full of faces he'd never really looked at before. What if the janitor used to be a poet? What if the security guard once built sculptures? What if the woman delivering coffee had written books? Rosa had opened something in him, a sense of wonder and a sense of responsibility. He realized then that real greatness isn't always loud. Sometimes it's silent. Sometimes it wears a gray uniform, walks with quiet steps, hums ballet music in the dark, and though she never asked for attention, Rosa had begun changing the way people saw the world around them, not with words, but with the simple beauty of movement, memory, and quiet strength. It was only the beginning. The quiet past was starting to breathe again, and something incredible was about to happen. That night, the office was quieter than usual. Most of the employees had left early because of a snowstorm that had begun outside. The streets were slowly being covered with a white blanket. The city lights looked soft and blurred through the falling snow. But inside the tall glass building of Whitmore Lifestyle Group, the silence was peaceful. Only a few lights were on in the long hallways. The building felt like it was sleeping. Jordan Whitmore, the billionaire CEO, was still in his office. Sat behind his large wooden desk, looking out the window with a thoughtful expression. His laptop was open, but he wasn't typing. His mind was somewhere else, thinking about Rosa. For days now, she had been stuck in his mind. He had learned who she really was, a former ballet star. A woman who had once danced on the biggest stages in the world. A woman who had disappeared from fame and was now quietly cleaning his office floors. He felt guilty about the joke he had made to her weeks ago. Back then, he had spoken without thinking. He saw an old cleaning lady and asked her to show a dance move as if it were a silly game. But now he realized how deep her story was. He had watched her dance quietly in the hallway that night, graceful, elegant, and full of emotion. It was unlike anything he had ever seen, even on television or in live shows. There was something about Rosa's dancing that was honest. Pure. Jordan stood up from his chair, grabbed his coat, and walked out of his office. He didn't know exactly why, but something inside him told him to go see Rosa again. Maybe it was curiosity, maybe guilt, maybe something deeper. As he walked down the hallway, he passed by empty conference rooms, turned off printers, and the quiet hum of the heater. When he turned the corner near the break room, he saw her. Rosa was alone, standing in the middle of the hallway. She didn't notice him. The lights were dim, and she was humming softly to herself. The mop was leaning against the wall, forgotten. She was slowly raising her arms, then bringing them down, her hands moving like waves. Her feet shifted gently. She spun slowly, as if remembering an old routine. Her eyes were closed. Jordan stood in the shadows, not wanting to disturb her. Her movements were slow but powerful. Each step was full of emotion. Each turn spoke of memories and pain and joy. Her age didn't matter. She didn't need a stage or applause. She was dancing like her heart had never stopped doing it. Jordan felt something in his chest, something he couldn't explain. It was respect. It was wonder. He was watching not a cleaner, not an employee, but an artist. A living piece of history. Rosa finally stopped and opened her eyes. She saw Jordan standing there. For a second, she looked surprised, but then she smiled kindly. "I didn't mean to interrupt," he said gently. "You didn't," she replied softly. "I was just remembering. He walked closer. You're incredible. I mean, truly. That was beautiful. Rosa gave a small laugh. Old habits don't leave easily. I saw you the other night too, Jordan admitted. You were dancing alone. I didn't want to interrupt then either, Rosa nodded. Dance sometimes. When the building is quiet, it helps me feel alive. Jordan leaned against the wall. I don't understand how someone like you ended up here. You should be in books. On posters, teaching. Rosa looked away. Life isn't always fair. When I lost my career, I also lost myself for a while. I didn't want the attention anymore. I wanted peace. Were you happy dancing? He asked. I was happiest when I danced, Rosa replied. But I also paid a price for it. My body hurt all the time. I missed birthdays, weddings, family. It was a life full of glory and loneliness. Jordan was quiet for a moment. Then he asked, Do you ever miss the stage? Sometimes, she whispered, but not the noise. It's not the pressure. I miss the feeling of flying. Jordan smiled. That's exactly what it looked like you were flying. There was silence again, a gentle, respectful silence. Then Jordan said, Would you ever consider telling your story? Really sharing it? People need to hear it. Rosa shook her head slowly. I'm not looking for attention, Mr. Whitmore. But it's not about attention, Jordan replied. It's about inspiration. You're not just a dancer, you're a symbol of strength, of quiet dignity. You've done more with your silence than most people do with a microphone. Rosa chuckled. You've become very poetic. I'm serious, Jordan said. Let me do something. Not for business.
For you?
Rosa looked at him carefully. What are you thinking? Jordan took a deep breath. We have a charity gala coming up in a few weeks. It's fancy, sure, but it's also a celebration of art and culture. What if you were part of it? Well, don't. Have to do anything big? Just share your story, or maybe perform a short piece. Something from the heart. Rosa's eyes widened. I haven't danced in front of people for more than 30 years. You danced in front of me, Jordan said softly, and I'll never forget it. Rosa looked down at her hands. They were older now, a little shaky, but inside her, she could still feel the music. The rhythm, the passion, hadn't died. It had just been sleeping. I don't know, she whispered. I'm not young anymore. You're timeless, Jordan replied. Rosa didn't answer right away. Instead, she looked out the window. Snowflakes were falling slowly, spinning through the air like dancers on a giant stage. I'll think about it, she said. That night, Rosa went home to her small apartment on the edge of the city. It was a quiet place filled with books, old records, and a few dusty trophies tucked away in a corner. She pulled out a small wooden box from under her bed. Side were photos her on stage, smiling letters from fans, faded ballet slipper, and a program from her last performance. She stared at it for a long time. Could she really dance again? The next day, she stood in front of her mirror before work. She raised her arms slowly, watching herself. The woman in the mirror had gray hair, wrinkles, and tired eyes, but when she moved, the mirror didn't lie. There was still something magical there, her body remembered. At work, Mia noticed something different in Rosa. She walked with a slight bounce in her step. Her smile was warmer, her eyes brighter. Jordan was waiting. When he saw Rosa walk toward him in the hallway, he didn't say anything, just looked at her, hopeful. I'll do it, she said quietly. But not for the crowd, not for cameras, just for myself. Jordan grinned. That's all I ever wanted. They began planning together, a small piece, just a few minutes long, a simple melody. No lights, no costumes, just Rosa, the stage. And the dance, Jordan arranged for a soft piano version of her favorite ballet music. He hired a trainer to help her warm up safely. He even arranged for a pair of custom shoes. Comfortable, elegant, strong Rasa, practiced in secret, using an empty office floor after hours. Mia joined her sometimes, watching with admiration. Rosa moved carefully, testing her limits. Her knees hurt some nights, she cried, but every night she kept going, because the dance wasn't gone. It was still inside her, waiting to be seen one last time. As the charity gala drew closer, Word began to spread. People heard that the cleaning lady would be performing. Some didn't believe it, others were curious. But Jordan didn't care what they thought. He believed in Rosa now more than ever. The day before the gala, Rosa stood in the empty event hall. The stage was simple, with soft lighting and a piano in the corner. She walked to the center, closed her eyes, and listened to the music in her mind. Her heart was pounding, not with fear, but with purpose. After all these years, she was going to dance again, and this time not for fame, not for money, but to remind herself and everyone else that beauty never fades. It only waits to be seen again. She didn't need the spotlight. She was the light, and tomorrow she would shine. The day of the charity gala arrived. The Whitmore Lifestyle Group's annual event was always a big deal, filled with celebrities, wealthy donors, art lovers, and important people from around the world. It was a night of glittering gowns, sharp tuxedos, and bright lights. The grand ballroom in the downtown hotel was decorated with crystal chandeliers, fresh flowers, and elegant table settings. The air buzzed with excitement and anticipation. Jordan Whitmore was in his element, shaking hands, giving speeches, and making deals. But despite the excitement, his thoughts kept drifting to Rosa. She had agreed to perform, but only on one condition. She wanted to do it quietly, simply, and without too much attention. She was nervous, but brave, and Jordan admired her courage. Backstage, Rosa was getting ready. She wore a simple white dress, nothing flashy or attention-grabbing. Her hair was pinned back neatly, and her feet were wrapped carefully in soft dance shoes. She stretched slowly, warming up muscles that hadn't moved like this in years. Her heart raced, but she told herself to stay calm. This was not about impressing anyone. It was about feeling alive again. Mia, the young intern, was there. With her, holding her hand and offering encouragement. "You've got this," Mia whispered. "Just dance like you did for yourself." Rosa smiled softly. "Thank you, dear." When it was time, the master of ceremonies called Rosa's name. The room quieted instantly. Everyone was curious. Cleaning lady, performing ballet? Some people whispered, others looked skeptical. But the moment Rosa stepped on the stage, everything changed. The music began softly, the familiar strains of a piano playing a slow, beautiful melody. Rosa closed her eyes for a brief second, took a deep breath, and began to move. Her movements were gentle at first, like a soft breeze brushing across the room. But as she danced, she grew stronger. Her arms stretched wide, her feet glided across the floor with elegance, and her body told a story of pain, hope, and grace. The years seemed to melt away. The audience watched in stunned silence. It was not a flashy show filled with big leaps or fast spins. Instead, it was a quiet, emotional performance that touched every heart. The people in the room could feel the years of sacrifice, the lost dreams, and the fierce spirit of a woman who had never truly stopped dancing inside. Some guests wiped tears from their eyes. Others sat frozen, mesmerized. Cameras flashed, but no one moved. Rosa's dance held the entire room captive. When the music ended, there was a moment of complete silence. Then the crowd rose to their feet in a thunderous standing ovation. People clapped, cheered, and shouted words of praise. Rosa bowed gracefully, a small tear sliding down her cheek. Jordan stood among the audience, feeling proud and humbled. Saw the joy and respect on everyone's faces. What started as a joke had turned into something beautiful and unforgettable. After the performance, reporters and photographers wanted to interview Rosa, but she was shy and polite, refusing most requests. She only agreed to speak to a few journalists who promised to tell her story with respect and kindness. Her story quickly spread beyond the gala. Newspapers, magazines, and television stations shared the incredible tale of the cleaning lady who was once a world-famous ballerina. People were inspired by her strength and humility. Many wrote about how Rosa's performance reminded them to never judge someone by their job or age. Back at the company, Rosa became a quiet hero. People treated her with more kindness, holding doors open, smiling more warmly and stopping too. Chat, she didn't ask for attention or praise, but she accepted their kindness with gratitude. Jordan knew that Rosa's story was bigger than just a performance. It was about second chances, hidden talents, and the power of human spirit. He wanted to do more. He decided to create a new company, Initiativa, program dedicated to supporting the arts and giving opportunities to children who couldn't afford dance lessons or music classes. He named it the Moretti Grace Project. In honor of Rosa's past and the grace she brought back to the stage, Rosa was invited to lead the program. At first, she was hesitant, but soon she found joy in teaching young children. She saw their bright eyes and eager hands, and she remembered herself as a young dancer full of dreams. She taught them how to move with feeling, how to tell stories with their bodies, and how to find beauty in every step. Classes were not just about dance, they were about confidence, courage, and believing in oneself. Jordan often visited the studio, watching Rosa work with the children. He felt changed by her presence. She had taught him something valuable about respect, humility, and the true meaning of success. Rosa never went back to the spotlight. She didn't seek fame or fortune. Instead, she chose a quiet legacy, one that would live on in the smiles and movements of every child she taught. Her story became a reminder to everyone: greatness can be hidden. Beauty can be found in unexpected places. Sometimes all it takes is a moment of courage to shine again. And Rosa, the old cleaning lady with a ballet heart, had shown the world that the dance never truly ends. After her stunning performance at the charity gala, Rosa's life began to change in ways she had never imagined. The story of the old cleaning lady who was once a world-famous ballerina captured the hearts of people far beyond the walls of the Whitmore Lifestyle Group building. Newspapers, television shows, and social media shared her story widely. People were amazed that someone with such incredible talent had lived in quiet humility for so many years. Many found hope in her journey, a reminder that it is never too late to shine again. Despite the sudden attention, Rosa remained humble and grounded. She didn't seek fame or glory. To her, the dance was not about applause or recognition. It was about the joy of movement and the spirit inside that refused to fade. She politely declined invitations to appear on talk shows or star in documentaries, preferring the calm of her daily life to the chaos of public attention. However, there was one opportunity she could not refuse. Jordan Whitmore, inspired by Rosa's story and her undeniable talent, had created a new arts initiative within his company called the Moretti Grace Project. It was a program dedicated to providing free dance and art lessons to children from underprivileged backgrounds. Jordan believed in giving back and wanted to help young people discover their own hidden talents, just like Rosa had once nurtured hers. Rosa agreed to lead the program as its teacher and mentor. At first, the thought of teaching others seemed daunting. It had been years since she had performed or instructed. When she met the children, her doubts disappeared. Their bright eyes and eager hearts reminded her of herself when she was young, full of dreams, and ready to conquer the world. Her classes quickly became popular. She didn't just teach dance steps. She taught confidence, discipline, and the importance of believing in oneself. Rosa encouraged the children to express their feelings through movement and to understand that every step they took was part of their own unique story. Watching her guide the children was inspiring to all who saw it, her grace and patience shining brighter than ever. Jordan visited the program often. He watched as Rosa connected with the children, guiding them with kindness and wisdom. He saw how her presence brought calm and inspiration not only to the students, but to everyone around her. He felt deeply grateful to have met someone who had taught him so much about humility and the power of passion. In the months that followed, the Moretti Grace Project grew steadily. Local businesses and community leaders joined to support the cause. The program expanded to include music lessons, art classes, and even theater workshops. Rosa became a beloved figure in the community, a symbol of strength, resilience, and grace. Though she no longer cleaned the company's offices, Rosa remained connected to the people there. Employees often stopped by the studio to say hello or watch a class. The respect and warmth she received touched her deeply. She knew that her story had changed the way people thought about each other, that it had broken down walls and opened hearts. One afternoon, as Rosa sat with a group of children practicing a dance routine, Jordan walked in quietly. He watched the scene with a smile. The room was filled with laughter and music, the children moving confidently under Rosa's gentle guidance. Jordan approached her and said softly, "You've created something beautiful here." Rosa looked up, her eyes shining. "It's not just mine," she replied. "It belongs to all of us."
Always.
Jordan nodded. "Thank you, Rosa, for everything." Rosa smiled. "Thank you for seeing me." Her story became more than just a tale of an old ballerina. It became a lesson that every person has hidden depths, that every soul carries a dance waiting to be shared. Rosa showed the world that true success is not measured by fame or fortune, but by the courage to embrace who you are and to pass on that light to others. As the years passed, Rosa continued to teach and inspire. She watched her students grow, some becoming dancers, artists, and leaders. And even when her own steps grew slower, her spirit remained unbroken. In the end, Rosa's greatest gift was not just her dance, it was the hope she gave to others, proving that no matter where life takes you, it's never too late to find your rhythm and dance your own story. And so, the old cleaning lady who had once been a queen of the stage lived on in the hearts of many, forever graceful, forever inspiring, forever dancing.